Welcome to the Health Fix podcast, where health junkies get their weekly fix of tips, tools, and techniques to have limitless energy, sharp minds, and fit physiques for life. Hey, health junkies. On this episode of the Health Fix podcast, I'm interviewing Dr. John Kim. He is the founder and owner of Kim Holistic Foot and Ankle Center down in Long Beach, California. He is such a wealth of knowledge. You guys are going to love this podcast because we're talking about foot health. And I hope to bring him back to talk about toenail fungus and also neuropathy in the future. So there's two other things that happen in the feet that are tricky. And so he's talking about some of the holistic ways he is treating feet, and he's using some of the cool they're homeopathic injections. I was saying biopuncture because as an acupuncturist, I could inject these homeopathic substances, and he's got little mixtures that he learned from an El Salvadorian medical doctor on how to help with regenerating foot health. So cool. He's taking it from a perspective that really works on the whole body. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about why the foot has so much issues, and he's going to blow your mind about one connection between certain joints through the body. So can't wait to share that there. But I got to tell you a little bit about him. He is a doctor of podiatry. He is also a naturopathic doctor. He's got a doctorate of naturopathic medicine. He graduated his undergraduate from the University of Notre Dame in Indiana. So we always love the local Midwest folks. And then he went to the California College of Podiatric Medicine in San Francisco, California. He's had some residencies at the Memorial Veterans Hospital in Loma Linda, and he has been in practice for 25 plus years, 1991 till now. And so he's a wealth of knowledge, and you can find him at kimfoot.com. He's also online in multiple different places, including YouTube, where he has a whole bunch of incredible videos where he is showing what he's doing, how he's doing it. And it's just fascinating to see the approach of the feet as in a holistic manner. And so nevertheless, I'm excited. I love this podcast. It's a great one. You guys are going to learn a lot. Let's introduce you to Dr. John. Dr. John Kim, welcome to the Health Fix podcast.
Thank you for having me. Wonderful to be here.
Well, feet are, I would say I have a foot fetish of sorts. I grew up with small feet. I still have a 4.5 size foot. So finding shoes has always been a little bit of a trick for me. And I've lived in a land between kid shoes and adult shoes. And depending on price, sometimes I always went towards the kid shoes, which I know wasn't the best route for me. So I'm super curious because I love feet. I work on feet as an acupuncturist. People think I'm weird. What is it about feet? What brought you to feet? What drew you to the feet?
Okay, well, I was looking to be a surgeon. I wanted to do surgery, and I always was interested in fixing things, whatnot. But in my college years, my roommate ran into my dorm and said, "Hey, did you know that there's something called being a foot doctor?" I said, "Really? What is that all about?" So he was telling me. So I went to this job. It was a job fair at school. And then I said, okay, well, I'm going to go visit some foot doctors locally. So I went to visit 3 foot doctors, and they absolutely loved what they were doing. And they were just phenomenal. They were just so happy. I've never seen doctors, because prior to that experience, I went back home, which is Guam. I worked at a hospital assisting doctors in the OR, and I happened to be working with a urologist. And unfortunately, poor guy, he was divorced, and he just didn't have time, and he was a pretty miserable guy. And then he said, "You can do surgery, but don't do urology, because you'll be on call all the time, and you'll be like having terrible family life." And so I was a little bit disarrayed. I was going like, should I be a surgeon or not, and all that. And then when this opportunity came to learn about podiatry, and I said, oh my God, this was just amazing, because these 3 doctors that I went to visit, they just absolutely loved being a podiatrist. Not only that, they said if they have to do it again, they'll do it again. So I said, okay, well, this is kind of what I really wanted to do. So I don't have a foot fetish or anything, but over the years I got to like treating feet, but I don't necessarily like the feet per se.
Oh my goodness. I figure it's not a prerequisite, but something in life that you mentioned that I think for a lot of people, their holistic health, and that's how you're working with the feet, that a lot of people, what they're called to in life, what their purpose in life really matters. And I think it has a big impact on our overall health. And I would say that, I'm sure you guys are also telling folks is the holistic part of working with the feet, it's your foundation. Is your foundation solid?
Exactly. Well, that's where we start. I usually tell them your feet are like tires of your car. You can have a beautiful body, you can have a beautiful engine, which is your heart. But if you don't have flat tires, you're not going anywhere, basically.
Yeah. And interesting you mentioned flat tires, because of course I'm going to weave it over to flat feet and all the different feet things that are going on. And I'll probably weave in a little bit of my family history and some of my weird things with my feet. But I think for a lot of people, especially active folks, they find that, when they're younger, the flat feet don't really make as much of a difference for most people. But then as we get older, it's like we need to regenerate how our feet work. And of course, you've got a program which we'll talk about. But what is it about flat feet? And we'll get over to the other side of feet because that's another story. But what is it about flat feet that degrades over time? How do we end up having trouble? And what are we regenerating when it comes to flat feet?
Well, we don't particularly regenerate flat feet. I usually regenerate the chronic pain issues. Flat feet are functional deformity. A lot of it is genetic, obviously. If you have flat feet in your family, most likely will have flat feet. So when that happens, one of the main arch area, there's this little joint on the arch called the talonavicular joint, happen to be one of the three ball and socket joints. So if you look at the whole body, as a holistic podiatrist, I look at the whole body, and your shoulder, and then your hips, and then this little joint on the arch called talonavicular joint are ball and socket joint. So I have a 360-degree motion. It's really flexible, really good, but that's where all the problem comes. Your shoulder problems and your hip problems, and then your foot problem comes because this is very unstable. So you're kind of born with a little bit flexible feet, and then over time, as you get older, like you said, when you're younger, you don't weigh that much, but as you get older, you have more weight on it, so it started collapsing more. When that happens, that joint unlocks the entire 26 bones of the whole foot, that one joint. And because of that, it gets flatter, and then all the problems happen. When it gets flatter, it gets wider. You get the bunions, and then you got Taylor's bunion, you got the hammer toes. You got all of that happening because your feet are very flexible. So your foot has to do two things. When you first hit the ground, it has to flex to absorb the shock, and then it has to lock up, and then you can propulse forward. But you're just kept unlocked, and you're not able to, tighten up because it's too flexible, so you can propulse. So you're tired standing too long. You cannot walk, any distance. And it becomes even more problem as you get older, especially if you're doing sports, you're walking a lot, you want to exercise. All those become a problem because it's too flexible of a feet. And then there's a lot of misinformation out there about shoes, right? And I tell people, I say, well, should I wear, this shoes, that shoes? Okay, it really depends on your foot type. And just like anybody else, we have different personality. We have a different foot types. We have a flexible flat feet type, which is a lot of people that I see because they're a common problem. But a lot of people don't know about is that you have a very high arch, the opposite end of the spectrum, which is high arch, and you're walking on the outside of the foot. That creates a knee pain, hip pain, back pain, all of that, as well as the flat feet. That's just as bad as being flat is having really high arch, which happens to be a very rigid foot, which is a very stable and strong foot, but it's just too rigid where it doesn't absorb the shock too well. So they get a lot of, plantar fasciitis, they got heel pain, they got tendonitis. A lot of those things come because your body just cannot handle too much pounding every step they take, especially if they happen to be, exercising, walking, or even running. Then you're putting about double or triple amount of pressure per step. When that happens, that too much lack of absorption makes that whole thing too stiff, and all the tendons and muscles and everything else suffer from that disability of having, too rigid of a foot. So either way, depends on your foot type. You have to first figure out what kind of foot type you have, and then you can really figure out what shoes are best for you. You can't just say, I like those, no insole, nothing on it. Well, those are great shoes to strengthen your feet, but if you have a weak feet to begin with, then you're going to be suffering. So my answer is depends.
Yeah. You just brought about so many different things now that my mind didn't think about, like ball and socket joint of the talonavicular, right? I have long since forgotten that. It's been almost 20 years since I took anatomy and physiology, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's right. That's right. And I think a lot of people aren't thinking about that. And then when you go to the feet, so what you mentioned, because anybody out there now can be an Instagram or whatnot influencer, right? And so they're like, the best shoes are the zero shoes, and they're going to, like you said, be strong. Now, so how do you go about telling someone what kind of foot they have? Because there's kind of the in-between between, yes, you walk on the side of your foot, really high arches, which I am going to say that is me, and then my husband's feet, which are like, he's
The other
almost
way,
like
the other side,
like,
yeah.
like he's
Yeah,
almost walking on the inside of his ankle, right?
right.
So how do people figure out the in-between those? What do you do? How do you do that?
The simplest way is to put some water at the bottom of the foot and have a white paper and then put like an imprint on it. If you got the whole foot connected, then you're flat-footed. But if you got the ball of the foot and the heel separated, then you got high arch. Okay, that's how you then, and everybody in between, right? So more smaller your ball and then the heel area, higher your arch is, right? And then I assume almost with 100% certainty, you're walking on the outside of the foot. Okay. And when that happens, you're literally dancing while you're walking. So you're doing one of these numbers. So that creates a lot of hip pain and back pain because it's too much side-to-side motion. You're just trying to go forward, but you're going side to side a lot because there's a lot of movement going on this way. But on the other hand, you're flopping this way. So a lot of people, first thing they do is, you know Charlie Chaplin?
Yes.
He walked like this, right? Charlie?
Yes.
Because he was flat-footed. Because when you flat-footed and try to walk this way, it's really painful. So to avoid that, they walk this way. So you're not really walking, you're just kind of waddling, you see? And that's how I usually tell. If they walk like that, they have flat foot right away, right? And then if they have a lot of swaying motion, okay, then usually have a high arch foot. But I can tell by having somebody stand there and looking from behind, you're looking at the heel. When you go like this, that means you got high arch. When you go like this, that means you got flat feet.
Okay. And so for those of you who are listening, we're going to have him explain what he just did. For those of you on YouTube, you just saw it. So with standing behind someone with the feet, with your fingers, will you explain kind of how, if someone was going to imagine what's going on?
Yeah. So basically you have somebody stand straight. You can actually draw a little line on the heel. That's what I usually do. Then it's not going to, fake your eye, right? Because sometimes you just can't see too well. Then you hold the heel this way and bisect it, meaning put a couple of dots on there. Then you can tell where this line goes. If it goes this way, that means you have high arch and you're walking on the outside. If it goes this way, then I'm talking about the right foot, let's say. If you go this way, that means you're flat-footed. But usually you can tell on the side, when you look from the side, you don't see a whole lot of arch there. Then obviously you got collapsing or flat feet. And then obviously if you got really big arch there, then they're usually walking on the outside of the foot.
Gotcha. Just for fun, do you ever just sit and watch people walk back and forth when you're waiting for folks? Just curious if I'm the only one that does that.
All the time.
Isn't it fun?
I can't help it. And then I start predicting what kind of problem they have because a lot of people are limping, right? Then I go, is that the heel pain or is there an Achilles tendon problem? Is that ball of the foot? I can usually tell. So it depends how they compensate. I can usually tell what problem they have. I want to just say that I wanted to tell them something. I said, well, if they're really severely limping, and I said, well, I know a good foot doctor. If you live over there, go over there, or come to see me, or whatever, right? Because and that's a big problem. As a holistic practitioner, another thing that I do is when I'm in the restaurant, my wife hates it. She keeps, well, why are you looking at them? I said, well, I want to see what they're eating. I want to see. Well, number one problem, a lot of people, as you know, I don't want to get to that. We're talking feet today, but just on that, because I'm watching these people eat, and they drink a lot of water or fluid while they're eating. No exception. All the overweight people, they drink a lot of fluid. They keep wanting refills on their water or tea or whatever drinking, because I can predict 100% certainty they're drinking a lot of water while you eat, because that's one of the main things they do. Number one, they're eating too fast, right? On top of that, they want to wash it down. But when they do that, they dilute your digestive enzymes so that it doesn't break down all the food very well. So they tend to gain weight, and they're eating too fast too. So anyway, just because you're talking about watching people, right? Those are two things that I do. I watch people walk, and then I watch people eat, what they're eating, what they're drinking. That just comes with a territory, I guess.
You're not alone. I do it too. Oh man, it's so interesting. I mean, it is interesting because so much of our habits, can be very telltale. And I tell my patients, if I had a camera and I could follow you around for 24 hours, I could learn a lot that you probably don't want me to necessarily know, but I could call you out on a lot of things.
Yeah.
That's...
what I do is sometimes I kick the patient out. and I talk to their spouses because they tell me everything. Because they, unfortunately, a lot of my patients, they lie about what they eat or what they do, or, are they staying off their feet as instructed? They don't do that, right? And then I realize that they're not getting better. There's something that they're doing that's really not progressing our treatment plan here, right? So I said, well, could we, could you go to the bathroom for a second? I need to talk to your, your husband or wife, and then especially the wife. When the wives come, obviously they have a lot to say, right?
Uh-huh.
They're not happy about a lot of things, but especially they want them better, right? They want them back to work. They want them making money, supporting the family, right? So they want to really tell me everything, right? So that's one way I get all of their information.
Oh my gosh. It's so true though. You're so right. Like that is the secret. That is the secret. Get the spouse. Or sometimes the kids will call out the parents.
Oh yeah,
too.
yeah. Kids too, yeah. But kids don't remember the details.
Yeah.
The kids basically know. They tell the truth. They even say it like right away. But if I really want to know the nitty gritty of what they're doing or what they're not doing, I mean that's like I don't need to take history, okay? They just tell me everything.
I love it. So true. So when we're looking at the feet, I think a lot of people don't realize, because unfortunately medicine, we've compartmentalized everything and we kind of treat still to this day, even though everyone knows better, but we still compartmentalize. And this is one of my biggest beefs that I have with the podiatry industry, because we'll bring someone in and they'll be like, working just on the foot. And obviously you've already talked today about looking at the whole body, and you have your regeneration program. Let's talk about like, how do you approach, you talked about what you're going to do for an exam. How do you move forward in your approach with regenerating the feet? Because I think a lot of people think regeneration of the feet might mean surgery. Or maybe we're doing injections, because I know you do PRP and some of the other different things. So give us a little more insight, because I think a lot of people are like, okay, foot regeneration. What are we doing here? Like, what other fun things are you doing?
Yeah. So over the years, I realized that a lot of my patients weren't getting better from all the things that we were doing allopathically. Obviously, I was trained as a foot doctor, so that's what I've been doing. And about 30 years ago, I ran into a problem because I started doing a lot of surgeries, and I realized that a lot of my patients just weren't getting better. They were still limping after months of coming to see me, and then the bones wouldn't heal, and the scars were thick, and they just weren't getting better. So I got into a depression going, hey, I'm a horrible foot surgeon. I mean, I need to quit. I got into total depression because I inherited a pretty large practice, so I got busy with surgery right away in the early career of my training. So I thought I was a pretty well trained, but apparently I wasn't, right? Because I had so many complications. One day I pulled all the 50 charts around, they've been coming for a while, so these charts were really thick, right? So I was literally buried under this chart, mountain of charts, and I started looking through all the charts and trying to figure out what did I do wrong, all these people. And several hours later, I said, hallelujah. I started so happy, and I go it's not all my fault. Obviously, there are times that I didn't do the surgery right, and it didn't heal, whatever that, I didn't do it correctly. But majority of the time, I operated on sick patients. They were hypertensive, they were diabetic patients, they were cancer patients, they're overweight patients, they're multiple medicated patients. When I worked on these patients, they never got better. So I was so happy. Then I went right back into depression because I've been doing all the things that I learned how to do. I've been doing therapy, I've been doing cortisone shots, and I've been doing all the things they've been telling me how to do, but I still weren't getting them better. So what do I do, right? So that's when I started researching. I started reading, different medicine of the whole world, Ayurvedic medicine, into Chinese medicine, into Korean medicine, into Greek medicine, I studied physiology, I studied everything I can get a hold of. I started finding answers. How can I get these patients healthier so that when I do surgery, I get really good outcome and I look really good, right? So that became my sole purpose of doing that. And I have years and years of studying, and I wrote my first book about 16 years ago, like 12 years to write the first book. And I published it, and I started teaching it, and I, having seminars, and a lot of people came and said, well, you're a foot doctor, why are you talking about health, right? So I said, okay, well, you're right, though. I'm a foot doctor after all, right? I know, other things now, but I'm still a foot doctor. So I went back to school, to the natural medicine school. I became a naturopath. And then I started really having some more things to say about how to really get people healthier. So when I created this program, I put together how I get these people healthier. So a lot of people come to me. So let's say, for example, they have really severe arthritis of the ankle. I had this gentleman came in. He fell from the roof, so he broke his ankle, broke his heel bone. So he had multiple, like staples on him, and he broke his ankle with a motorcycle accident. So his ankle, he had like 11 pins and the plates, and then he had his ankle joint was left, but that had arthritis developed, so he couldn't even walk. So I said he's retired, so he wanted to do a lot of things around the house. I said he came to me and said, well, can you help me? I've been to 3-4 doctors, and they said they need to fuse it or put an implant on there, but I don't want any more surgery because I have already too many surgeries. But I've been suffering with this for over 30 years now. Can you do something? I said, okay, well, first I need to get you healthier. You're a little bit overweight. You're taking these medications. He's taking cholesterol medication, blood pressure medicine, the people that most people take. So I need to help you kind of calm everything down, like inflammation and all of those. So I created a program, like a diet program. I obviously have him read my book. I've created some videos for him to watch. And then I slowly detoxing him. We use homeopathic detox and get rid of all the toxins. And then I have my health coach that I've trained. She teaches them how to do all this. So I won't even do any of my injections until they're ready to accept my treatment, because you're not quite ready, because it's different from cortisone or even surgery, that your body just doesn't have a lot to do with it. Obviously surgery requires a lot of healing power, but they just do it without all of that, and hopefully they'll get better. But in the meantime, I get them well first. And they ask me, so when are you gonna start your shots? And I said, well, hold off a second. You're not ready. You're not ready, right? And some people don't. They get really mad, right? I want the shots right away. I want whatever you're gonna do it right away. Well, no, we need to get you well first, okay? So I created this. I call it 9 Secrets membership program. It's a membership program. I get them, put them on the supplements. I do a detox, homeopathic detox. And by the way, when we do this, they're losing 20 pounds a month, all healthfully. All, it's an amazing, homeopathic stuff that I've been using for a long time. So they do that, and I put them on a hyperbaric oxygen treatment. Why? Especially, not everybody, but if I feel that their injury's been there for a long time and it's like chronic scar tissue issue where the oxygen cannot get to the area, as you know, without oxygen, nothing heals, right? So I give them extra oxygen to the area. I put them in an oxygen tank with a red light therapy, which also increase circulation to the microcirculation to the area. And then I do the IV treatment also. And what that does is that we give micronutrients. We give calcium, we give magnesium, Myers cocktail, which has all this, minerals, and then glutathione to detox their liver and all these other organs. And then after doing that for a month or two, then they're finally ready to receive my injection. And that's what I do. So I kind of prepare them first, which is what I realized over the years, right? If I don't get them well and I do things, then they're not going to get better. So that's kind of what I do.
I mean, 100%. I mean, I respect your honesty. I mean, I definitely came to a place in my practice too, where I was like, people aren't getting better. What am I doing wrong? Right? What is the problem? And it's like trying to throw even natural treatments at folks if they don't have the foundations down. It's like you're just wasting time. Isn't it funny how we always want to go right to the injections? We want to get that quick result. We want that magic pill. Oh my goodness. Or the magic shot, right?
Actually, that's exactly what they call it. They call it, give me that magic shot.
And you're like, you do know that cortisone is just gonna mask whatever needs to get healed in the long run. And gosh, you're so right. When I was looking through your website and looking at your program, I saw that you were like, we prepare the body to heal and to take, if we're going to do platelet-rich plasma, I would tell people, and probably have a lot of people mad at me too, I would be like, you have to be eating impeccably. You have to be doing well. I'm not going to waste your money or your time or my time and reputation to do a shot on you for you to be like, it doesn't work. And, oh, man, it's tough.
Sometimes it's a fight.
It is. Now, let's talk a little bit about, I think a lot of people don't realize how important circulation and nutrients to the tissues are, because with you doing the IV, with you doing the work to increase the oxygenation, this is something that Chinese medicine talks about over and over again. Do you have folks doing any primer stuff at home where they're doing any massage or myofascial work or anything else? Or do you have staff doing this for them?
Yeah, usually we have them buy the red light at home, which is cheap enough to use. And then a lot of times I start them on a physical therapy. So they're going to start preparing, meaning they're going to stretch and strengthen, and they're going to learn how your body works, and they're going to kind of do some treatment, because then they have to get treatments after the injection anyway. So this is kind of prime them to be able to kind of be committed. I said, I need to go to therapy a couple times a week. I need to do some home therapy, stretching, use some machines at home. And then you're going to start coming to hyperbaric and then IV treatments. And then you have to change your diet, all that has to all happen. So it's not just, one-time deal, but I want to see if they're really committed or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
and a lot
it's
of people
huge.
are, yeah, a lot of people are committed because they've been suffering for a long time, and they've been to other doctors, and they were told that surgery is the only thing that can solve the problem. And a lot of people don't want surgeries anymore, or they don't want surgeries, period. So they want something more natural. So a lot of people come to me because of that. And a lot of my patients, they may not know the natural ways, but once I have to tell them, I said, this is how we do things, and I give them, things to watch and kind of study themselves, so that you have to kind of change your paradigm. It's not a quick fix situation, but when you do it this way, it does take longer. It takes a lot more participation from you. But once you do that, your body knows how to heal. So after a while, right, so they get their foot better, right? And then after they all say, oh, I lost weight, I feel so much better. My wife wants to do your other program because, I'm eating better. I'm more energetic, So if your foot's not better, I'm going to have the rest of you better, basically.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So here's a question. It is something that a lot of folks will kind of get the idea in their head that once a bunion starts or once a hammer toe starts, we've kind of been told that's genetic. We can't change it. There's nothing you can do. So tell us a little bit about the different deformities of the foot and how you can work on the overall health to help reduce pain and have them living well with these things.
Yeah. So obviously, while I'm preparing, your body to get better, obviously your mind and your emotion and your spirit too, because we're a holistic practitioner, is that you're going to change your habit about your stress habit, your sleep habits, your hydration habits, your diet habit. We're going to change all that. But another thing that I do before I do anything else is to kind of make your foundation, your feet, in the most stable and best position possible. Okay, which is to prevent a lot of these things that you're talking about, the bunions and hammer toes and neuromas and heel pain. All of that is, at the end of the day, it's a mechanical problem that created this problem, and then your body wasn't healthy enough to heal it. So I'm going to get your body to be able to heal this, but I have to mechanically stabilize you or get you even, right? If you're walking this way, I'm going to get you to walk like this. If you're walking this way, I'm going to get you to walk like that. Because without doing that, you're going to have all these other mechanical breakdown. I tell a lot of men, men know, they know their cars, right? So I said, your axles are bent, and then your tires are wearing out, and then go like, oh, I get it. Ladies do it a little bit differently. They're talking about their household stuff, and when I talk to about what they're cleaning, if you have an uneven surface when you're cleaning, then you're gonna have to put a lot of pressure on one side or the other. Then they understand, so I have a different understanding of it. But you want an even, nice ground so that it's not gonna create a breakdown of your mechanics, which is your main function of your feet. Right? So mechanically, you have to carry your whole body, so it has to be balanced properly. It's like putting a new tires in your car. If you don't balance it, it's going to all wear out in certain ways, right? So that's how I usually tell people that I need to get them straighter or optimally positioned. We do it through custom orthotics. We do it specific. We take a mold and then we put it in the specific position so that it's in a as perfect position as we can. And then we generate tissues such as tendon issues, nerve issues, ligament issue, and the joint issues. Those are the four things that when they have a chronic problem and they've been to other doctors, they've been to therapy, they've done immobilizing in a boot or cast for a long time, and then now they're finally got to a stage where all the doctors saying you need surgery. And these are the people that I enjoy having because I can reverse that. About so far, 6 years I've been doing this in a specific sequence that I've learned is I'm getting about 90% results, which is pretty astounding. Unfortunately, I didn't create it. I learned from this doctor from El Salvador. She's an amazing physician, about 30 years of doing this. So she taught me exactly what to do. Because I've been using this homeopathic injection for 25 years, but I was getting about 50% result. 50% of people doing well, some 50% weren't doing well. So a lot of people ended up needing surgery. But when I started doing this, only less than 10% really need additional treatment or surgery. 90% is pretty good result. I can't take the credit for it because I didn't invent it. That's the specific way it's being done. but it's been quite amazing.
Wow. Now, these homeopathic injections are, in my mind, I think of Tramiel. I think of the homeopathic company that has all the different ones like Spassky Purell, etc. Is it a different company? Is it what are you guys using? I'm very curious.
Yeah, I use the Heal company that the Trimeals comes from. Actually, that's what I was using for 25 years with a
Yeah.
pretty good results. About 50% of the people got better. This doctor from El Salvador, Dr. Alfaro, taught me how to add additional tinctures, and so to regenerate specific things like the cartilage of the joint, tendon, and then ligaments, and then the nerve. It actually regenerates. It not only gets rid of the scar tissue and inflammation with Traumel, so Traumel mixed with other ingredients like lymphamycin. I mean, there's a lot of other things that I use. I use Heal and also use Regenerative, which is another German company. So I bring everything from Germany, and then we mix it in a specific way. Depends on how long you've had the problem, and if you have some acute problem still, then we have to mix differently. Overall, it not only gets rid of the pain, but it regenerates new tissues, whether it's your joint and the nerve and then ligaments and tendons. And astonishingly, they're like 90% better. Most people are 100% better within about 6 weeks or so.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I mean, interesting that you're using some of the same. I was using a lot when I was doing a lot more hands-on. I was doing a lot of the Tramiel and lymphomyocytes and kind of the combination sequence of the Heal company. I don't know the other company. How do you spell the other company?
Reconweg, RECKENWEG.
Okay.
Reconweg.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that company, and so folks who are listening, this is something to think about. Asking practitioners, if they've been trained in this, if you can't get to Dr. Don. Now, obviously, we're going to tell you how to get to Dr. Don because that is he's got the special training there. And yes, what I found with homeopathics is there's a sequence, and I think for a lot of people, they might be thinking, okay, what is a homeopathic? So I'd love for you to explain how you were talking about tissue regeneration, you were telling all those things. How do you explain homeopathic injections to your clients? What's your explanation? I'm putting you on the spot.
No, that's a good question. Well, it takes about an hour to explain, so I created a video. So I said, watch this. Because I started explaining it and go like, oh, what does that mean? What does that mean, right? So I just said, okay, this is who invented, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann invented 1796. I mean, this over almost 230 years ago, okay? It's a brilliant doctor, obviously, because I didn't know how he even figured out how this worked, right? So he dilutes all of these things, right? It's just amazing, the concept. So I tell him, I said, these are the things that I have in there. I don't even tell them all the names because they're confused. They don't want to know them.
Right.
What do they do, right? So there's one that with anti-inflammatory, there's one that regenerate cartilage, there's ones that regenerate tendon, there's one that regenerate nerves, there's one that regenerate ligament, and I also do prolotherapy, right? I'm sure you're familiar with that. So I do prolotherapy for the ligament problems. And I tell them, I said, these are all the ingredients that I use for specific tissue regeneration. Depends on the problem you have. And then these are the sequences that I use. I've been doing it every 2 weeks, but now a lot of people are getting better even faster, and they want to get better faster. So I've been doing weekly now. So I'm learning as I'm doing this. So we do weekly injections. Obviously, PRP, I use ozone on top of that because, as you know, ozone activates all the ingredients. And it works, actually, I hate to put it this way, but it actually works better than stem cell. I'm astonished by it when you mix ozone, and I mix ozone with the PRP also. It's called prolozone, as you know. Dr. Schellenberger came up with that whole concept. It's amazing. I mean, I've been using PRP for over 25 years, okay? Because I was one of the very first foot doctor to use it for the heel pain. I got a really good results. I wrote a paper and then I presented it in New York, I remember, 25 years ago. So I've been using it, but I was getting pretty good results, but I was not getting the results I'm getting with the ozone. So I think the key ingredient is the ozone. It really activates, gives extra energy into this, the tinctures that we're putting into it, and the results have been astounding.
Nice. Yeah, I ozone never ceases to amaze me. I used to do PRP in my office in Washington there for a while, and yeah, I started to see, well, maybe there's some other things, and I started to use some peptides. I know peptides right now are a little wishy-washy. However, as of Wednesday, BPC 157 is back in the game. Do you use any peptides? Do you use any exosomes in your practice? I know these are a little fringe. So
right. Well, yeah, I believe in it. I personally take it myself. Like BPC 157, I take them, and with my son, he's an athlete, he's a runner. So I always make sure that I do a nasal spray. I highly recommend it. So it gives you, recovery like fast. Because I work out quite a bit. I'm a pretty active guy. So as I'm getting older, I want to get more energy, right? Because I need to keep up with my son here. So I highly recommend taking peptides of any kind for the brain issues, or like a CMAX is excellent thing for you to take for your brain. So there's so much out there. Yeah, but I highly recommend those. I don't do it because I'm already having him do so much.
Right.
If
right.
if I tell them like one more thing, because I tell them to take all the supplements too, right? The B and the C and the D and the magnesium and all that, right? So I take 7 supplements. That's a basic. Everybody has to be on it, right? And then you have to do detox. It's a lot, okay?
Yeah.
So I don't want to put additional stuff on it, but I saw 2 new patients came in yesterday. They both right off the bat. The reason I came is because you're holistic. So I think like, really? Then it's easier. Then I don't have to tell them like this works this way, that way. They already know. They have a vast knowledge about a lot of this stuff. Then I tell them, okay, you can do all these things, but they're probably on all the supplements already anyways. So I tell them, I said, these peptides are good for you. You should try those. Then they're more open because they don't think it's, too much more to do. But like regular people, if I have to tell them to do all this, plus you do this, plus you do this, they go like, oh my God, I give up, right? So I try to be a little bit, more careful on who I tell peptides about. So some I have not used. I know a lot about that, and I know a lot about other things that are out there. They're very expensive injections. I heard they're really, really good. I have some people that are, asking me or talking to me about a lot of these regenerative stuff, and they used a lot of those products. They're very expensive, but thank God I really haven't had to.
Yeah.
I have to use them yet because I'm getting such good results with what I do. I don't want to charge $5,000 for each shot. That's what they're charging because it works really well. The the umbilical cord thing, all the other stuff they constitute now is amazing. But mine's so much cheaper and it works.
And at the end of the day, I think this is, you're on to something here because unfortunately, and I'm not knocking anyone out there who has the higher ticket prices and whatnot. It's just that for a lot of people, if we want to help more people, we have to find ways to help people at all different price points, but you have a protocol that you already practice, works. So it's like, why go towards, the high end stuff if you don't have to? And so I love that approach and not throwing the whole kitchen sink because you're being conservative on that level. And that's a beautiful thing. So I think a lot of people right now, Dr. Don, are going to be like, what are you doing for your own feet? What is your like Dr. Don's foot care maintenance? Because of course we get the feet healthy and now we move on to the maintenance. So I'm super curious as to like what are you doing for your feet? What's your thing?
I'm glad you asked. Okay, first thing I do is I walk a lot. I walk 1 hour every day. After lunch, I walk. After dinner, I walk 30 minutes. Okay? So I go up and down the stairs. My office is in a 4-story, medical building. I go up and down because there's no competition. Nobody else is using the stairs. I'm the only one. I have a exclusivity over there. Nobody's walking. Everybody's taking the elevator. So I go up and down. And then I use orthotics. I'm not flat-footed, but I have a flexible feet, so I want to support that. So I always had orthotics. And then what I do is very important because as I'm getting older, I want my balance. So there are 2 things that I recommend for people. I do myself. Is that I do not put my socks on and off sitting down.
I love it.
I stand up and 1 leg at a time. I put it on, and then obviously at nighttime when I take him up that way. Another thing that I do is when I brush my teeth, I go on 1 leg up and then the other leg up. Those are 2 things that I recommend as you're getting older. Walking is really, really good. Obviously, you can do some foot exercise and whatnot. For me, walking is amazing because you're going to use all your muscles to walk. So I highly recommend doing more of that, and then obviously getting the sun. And don't get me there, right? I can go 1 hour on the sun, so all that. But just going out there, lunchtime, get some sun, kind of get your circadian rhythm going, and then obviously walk as much as you can. But I realized that running around all day in the office, I measured it. It's less than 2,000 steps.
Whoa.
It's not that much. All day long I was running around. I was quite disappointed. I thought I was walking quite a bit, but you don't. You think you're walking a lot more, but you're actually not. So you have to go out there and walk, I take 30 minutes after every meal, just so that you keep everything going. You get your circulation going, your digestion going. So nothing will sit around, area that you don't want.
Nice. Nice. I love to hear that you calculated your steps. I've done that before too. And yeah, I was horrified that I thought like, oh, I have to be getting like 8 miles, but nope.
You're not getting it. I know. I was surprised too.
I know,
Yeah.
between the rooms, you thought there was more distance, but there wasn't.
No.
Dang. But
I know.
stairwells, that is a great place for peace and quiet. I agree. It's a great mind calming situation. So of course you're in Long Beach, California, and so a lot of folks are going, okay, so he's got that going on, and maybe they're up in Tacoma where a lot of my crew are, or maybe they're out in Wisconsin. What would you say to folks if they were like, hey, Dr. John, I'm super interested in your program, and we want to either come down and check things out, or say they're in the Long Beach, Las Vegas, somewhere where they can drive in. How does it work for them to hook up with you and get an appointment and get started? What do they need to start putting away in terms of time to get all of the exercises and take their supplements? What does an investment in time look like, and how do they get to you?
Yeah. So let's say we have to take history, and we will send you like things for you to fill out, so we know where you're coming from. Okay. And then I'll have you talk to one of my intake coordinator, and she'll talk to you and find out more information about where you're from and what's going on with you, basically. And then we feel that with something that we can help you, then we'll send you a bunch of things for you to fill out. So then we'll do a little consultation over the phone if you're far away. If you're nearby, you can come and make an appointment to see me. Then we can get x-rays, we can get ultrasound, we can get live x-ray, with a lot of things that we can do to find out more, even MRI, to find out what's going on. Or if you have all those things done already, you can send it to me so we can review all of that. And then depends on how quickly I can get you well. I usually know pretty much right away how long it's going to take. Then we have to kind of work out the logistics. Okay, if you're locally here, no problem. You may have to, if you're close enough, then you have to do hyperbaric and IV and all of those things, at the premise. And then the injections need to be done obviously in the premise. All the other stuff can be done online, meeting with my health coach, talking to me over the phone, or online like this can be all done, and all the preparation can be done, and then you'll be coming there for, obviously, oxygen treatment and IV treatment, and also the injections. Injections, I can do every week, but if you have to be far away, then if you stay for a couple of weeks, then we can squeeze in 3 injections in a couple of weeks. So you can stay in a local like a hotel, and then you would stay for a couple of weeks.
Nice.
But it's a kind of a, my patients tell me, it's really a life-changing situation. They think they have a foot problem, and they came for the foot problem, and then they're getting all these other things. They're quite surprised, because obviously they're expecting just fixing the feet, but I talk about all these other things. In the beginning, they go like, oh, why do I need all these other things? But after a while, they get kind of, their paradigm changes. That your body is actually the one that's actually healing your foot, not the other way around. So your body has to be well. And once they get there, they get it. Then they're more motivated. But they're pretty motivated because they have a lot of pain, and they couldn't travel, they couldn't exercise, they couldn't walk their dog. I mean, they couldn't do housework. So they're pretty desperate. They really want something done, because nothing's been done. So to really improve their condition. So they're very committed of changing. Obviously, we need to arrange things to make sure that it can all be done. But a lot of people are driving in from, Arizona or Nevada, Northern California. They drive in. They drive 7-8 hours, get the shot. Some people don't even stay. They just go right back. And, they all make it work. So, but we can help you. We can help you, listening to your situation, where you're coming from, and we can arrange all those things. So it really depends on how much treatment you need and what needs to be done. So, I mean, even hyperbaric and IV, you can probably get it done locally where you are. So those will be really helpful. I'm going to recommend, how that sequence works. But those things have to be done, especially if I feel that you really need them.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. And then for maintenance going forward, what does maintenance look like? Do they meet with you still? Are they off on their own since they've changed their whole life? What's next for them for maintaining good foot health?
Well, you already probably got the orthotics that I made for you, so that may have to be redone every 3 to 5 years. Okay, so far all the people that I've done, they did not need any more injections. I call them every year. Said, hey, John, how you feeling? That guy I was telling you about, the arthritis, like bone on bone. Okay? And then I call, hey, John, how you feeling? I'm doing fine, doctor. I've been calling them every year. That's been 5 years already. So far, these people haven't had to come back to see me. But if you want to maintain your health, then you need to continue with the membership, which is everything's online. You need to meet with my health coach periodically, like a couple times a month. You can come to my webinar weekly, which is what I do, 30-minute webinar to ask any questions. And I have thousands of people on my phone, my patients. They call me. I've been doing concierge service without charging my patient for 35 years already. I would have made a lot of money doing a concierge service, but I don't, because people don't bother me, but if they have questions, they need to ask. Yeah. So I'm available all the time. So that's my promise to my patients. And they come to my office and they're all surprised because where are all the walls? I designed my office. You walk into my office, everything's completely open. All the rooms you can see the doctors running around, and then you got all the staff sitting there. I have no wall. I created that way because I wanted to break down the wall between the doctor and the patient. So that's how I've been practicing for 35 years.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I want to come hang out. Sounds like a fun place to hang out. I love the mission of breaking down the walls because I think we get a lot of better care when we have more personalization to it. 100%. So, all right, we've got to tell folks a little bit more about where they can find you. I've got kimfoot.com and then, Kim Holistic Foot and Ankle Center. What about on Instagram? What about YouTube? Because you said you had you got videos there. Tell us more. Where can folks find you so they can find you in all the places?
I don't know all the handles, but basically look for Kim Foot and Ankle and you'll find my Instagram, my YouTube channel. I have a lot of videos there. I have about over 750 videos there. So about everything. So you can watch all my fungal nail videos. You can watch a heel pain video. Whatever you have question about, it's on there.
Oh my gosh!
It's all on the playlist, all of them. And then we have about 300,000 subscribers. So a lot of people are watching what I'm doing. So you can come join, hang out there. And then I have my Instagram. Obviously, I have my Meta or Facebook account as well. So you can come. You can just look me up, Kim Foot and Ankle. You'll be able to find them.
Awesome. And we'll link everything in the show notes at drjkrauseND.com as well, guys, so that you can get everything there as well. I love to talk about the feet. As I said, I have a foot fetish of sorts, and definitely with the fungal thing, we could probably do a whole podcast on that, but we're going to have folks go look at your videos and see what you're up to there. Gosh, Dr. Don, thank you so much for coming on and sharing what you're up to and all the good work you're doing. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was a wonderful conversation. You're amazing. Your interviewer.
Well, thank you. Hey, fellow health junkie. Thanks for listening to the Health Fix podcast. If you enjoyed tuning in, please help support me to get the word out about the podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review, and just get that word out. Thanks again for listening.